Okay, I'd like to welcome you all to our webinar today. This is Small Call Centers, Big Savings, and it's part of our already this morning it starts. This is part of our VoIP Best Practices webinar series by Telcentris. My name is Tristan Barnum. I'm the VP of Marketing here at Telcentris, and I'd love to hear from any of you for just about anything. So feel free to reach out to me. You can email me any questions that you have if you think of any later. Or follow up that you might think about some ideas that got jogged loose, feel free to reach out. You can reach me by email. You can see there tristan.barnum@voxox.com. And also, if you're into social media, I invite you to connect with me on Twitter at super_luminal and on LinkedIn. That'd be great. So, we are going backwards, are we? All right, there we go. The agenda today. What we're going to do is talk quickly about the goal of this webinar, and then we're going to cover the move into the cloud by contact centers, especially small contact centers. We're going to talk about where voice over IP fits in, and then we're going to touch really briefly on how Telcentris can help in this area, and then I'm going to take a little Q&A if we have any. So the goal for today. We're really here, I think, to learn what you can do as a small call center or for a small call center to save some real money. So I'm hoping that you'll all come away with some steps that you can take, maybe some questions for me that got jogged loose during today's session, maybe some ideas to research, and really get started thinking about all of the different ways in your small call center that you can be saving money. Because that's good, right? It's going to come really as no big shock to you guys, but organizations of all sizes are ditching their on-premises contact center systems in favor of cloud-based platforms. And this is actually happening in more than just the contact center, of course. Software is moving into the cloud and people are making that move. But what I want to talk about today is why. I'm sure you all want to know why. And really the biggie here is the ROI. It's the return on the investment. So at its heart, the return on investment from moving to the cloud comes from improved customer service for contact centers. It has other advantages, but this is really the biggest part of it is you're going to improve your customer service, which is going to just cascade through a bunch of savings through your organization. And that's the reason that even the big contact centers are moving to the cloud too. For a small contact center, though, these savings can really make a huge difference. So, because today's cloud based systems bundle all of the applications that you need on a single shared platform, small call centers get whichever features and functionality they need when they need it. And they don't have to worry about integration issues that can jack up costs and really do a number on your overall reliability. So, when you need ACD and when you need CRM, you can bundle all of those things together and really um, get them turned on and off whenever you need them um, during your business. So tight integration of these applications and all of the intelligent routing that gets the customer to the right agent in that automated fashion. So it's going to get to the right guy at the right time is going to create a really smooth and seamless customer experience that is really going to be a huge advantage over some of the on-premise systems that take a lot to integrate and get all of that stuff working smoothly. Now let's talk about one of the big advantages of a hosted contact center and a move to the cloud. Really, the way that we communicate has changed massively over the past, 10, 20 years, right? Today, consumers, they don't want to just use the phone to get their message heard. They make themselves heard through all the channels that are available to them: email, chat, texting, all the different social media channels, LinkedIn and Twitter, Facebook. And because consumers are using these things to communicate in their personal lives day to day, it's totally normal and natural that they're going to expect to be able to conduct business using those same channels, using those same methods. The problem, of course, is that call centers are really struggling to keep up. And this is a lot because of all of these things are premise-based solutions that have sort of a set feature set. They're difficult to upgrade, and so you're sort of stuck with what you got. And call centers are having trouble using those things that they have installed to manage and identify what channels they should focus on because they can't see half of them. And then when they start thinking about it, they don't have the people available to manage all of those different channels really effectively at all. And so maybe they think, all right, I'm going to add some agents and they're going to um, handle Facebook and this one's going to deal with Twitter. But adding all of those agents to handle those new communication mediums is just very expensive. It's going to lead also to fragmentation. And that's going to upset your customers. They're going to get different answers and they're going to have really not a seamless experience at all. Um, your right hand isn't going to know what your left is doing, basically. You've got email tickets getting opened and calls coming in and Twitter happening. You've got tweets coming in where you're tagged, where you're not tagged, and how do you manage all of these things? And the consumers aren't thinking about that. They don't care how you manage it. They just want it to work because they're moving between those channels without even pausing to think about what that's doing. And they take it for granted that all their communications channels are integrated. To them, they're on their phone or at their computer, and this is just how they communicate. And they really don't like it when they run into barriers, and it happens really frequently in the service world. So there's really a surprisingly large number of contact centers that still only answer phone calls. And yeah, there's a lot more that handle calls and emails now, but a lot of those are in totally separate queues that are just not integrated together. So that when those customers are moving between the channels, they have to go ahead and start over, repeat themselves, try and track down all of these duplicate issues, and it's a hassle. It's going to create frustration. And really, what it's going to do is decrease your company's chances of getting customers to use those less expensive non phone channels, right? If they find they're really only getting helped by picking up the phone, they're going to do that. Um, Even worse is when things get escalated very, very rapidly on Twitter because all it takes is one person to scream and yell on Twitter, and suddenly they're getting help from every direction. What that's doing is really training your users to use Twitter to scream and yell. They're getting the best bang for their buck when they use that medium. That's maybe not what you want to be doing. And with an integrated system, um, you're going to be able to prioritize all of those things so that there's more balance and you're responding appropriately to these different channels. So you really should be looking for ways to adopt sales and service practices that are going to um, meet these needs of these customers without boundaries, because I guarantee your competitors are looking at ways to integrate this stuff. So it's really important to get a look at how you can integrate these things. And a hosted platform that's in the cloud that is through one interface is one way to converge all of those different customer interactions. So we've got my fun slide, my slide, showing that you can enter all these different places, but you all wind up in the same pool. This is really what we want to see with our contact center. And so having a solution that's going to integrate all the different ways that our customers want to reach us means that agents are going to have a better shot at getting a first contact resolution. And it doesn't matter where the contact occurs. So the same agents that's going to be handling your calls and handling your emails, they're also handling Facebook and they're handling LinkedIn inquiries. And maybe they're looking at Pinterest because your business has a huge presence there. And being able to provide consistent messages and get training on all one system is key. It's not 10 expensive systems that are sort of hung loosely together. Having one integrated system is really going to help your agents meet the needs of those customers. It looks like we may be having trouble with the slides. Interesting. Let me take a quick break here. Is that better? Can we see the slide? I hope. Perfect. It looks like it's working. All right. So we've got our slides. That's okay. You only missed a couple. So having a solution that's going to integrate the ways that our customers want to reach us is important because basically your agents need it to be able to provide that better customer experience. They're going to get to first contact resolution. And you need it internally, organizationally. They're going to be empowered to do this stuff more seamlessly. It's going to happen faster. You're going to be able to save so much time and energy handling all of these different channels. So small contact centers need to position themselves to be able to deliver this stuff. I read a recent analyst prediction by DMG actually that said that the volume of social media interactions to meet the number is going to meet the number of calls received by contact centers before 2018. So before 2018, we're going to be dealing with Twitter and Facebook and whatever else is coming next just as frequently as we're going to be handling phone calls before 2018. That's a huge tipping point. So companies that aren't making the necessary changes and the investments that they need to make to respond to the social media interactions, as well as things like SMS or chat and other common forms of communications these days and in the future, they're going to find themselves at a disadvantage. There's already so many technologies in the market to help companies establish just a global session with their customers and seamlessly move them between all of these different channels. So for example, a customer comes in on a website, fills out a form, and gets to a service agent without having to drop out of the phone call or the website and start a new session. It's all one session. So the technology to deliver this multi-channel contact center is available, and enterprises need a universal queue to really integrate all these incoming interactions into one service queue for distribution to agents. Automated responses as well as live agents. And they're going to need skills-based routing software to make sure that all of those interactions are intelligently directed to the most appropriate agents. And some adaptive routing uses real-time data from third-party applications. That's going to improve your workflow, and all of the servicing functionality that makes it easier for agents to move from one channel to the next with their customers. So together, all these things are going to give that customer a fully integrated multi-channel experience. So the ROI that I talked about right at the beginning, which is sort of the big reason for the move to the cloud, the ROI that's going to come from all of this improved customer service is really easy to measure, which is awesome. I'm big into data. I really want to know if what I'm doing is working, and the best way to do that is to measure it. And thankfully, this stuff is just really easy to measure because the applications in a hosted contact center are delivered in an on-demand fashion. And so the cost of the system can be represented really simply as just one line item, right, that recurs monthly on your operating budget. So as your customer services improve, you're going to see an increase in revenues that can be compared against that single line item. So where is that line item going? Is it going up? Is it going down? Should it be staying about the same? Unless you guys are growing like crazy, in which case maybe you turn up more agent seats and that line item goes up. But basically, you're going to be able to justify and see that return on your investment. And there's no major outside variables that you're going to have to factor in, like equipment failures, replacing servers like you do with on-premise systems. So basically, you need more juice, you turn up the bill, and you get more agents, you get more features, you get whatever it is you need less, you turn it down. So also, you're going to have this reduced demand on an IT department that's internal, right? So you're going to have reduced communication costs through the use of VoIP as well. And we're going to get into that too in more detail. And then you're going to eliminate this costly software license spiel, this racket that these on-premise systems have. That's like just thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars of outlay for software licenses. And so this is the kind of stuff you're going to be able to measure this change and how much your business is actually saving, because saving money is great, but being able to actually quantify that is how you can make smarter business decisions, and really what everyone should be looking for. So I touched briefly on this in the last slide as sort of the impact on the IT department, but some of the reasons that people say that they actually want to keep their systems in-house instead of moving to the cloud is that they're worried that a service provider isn't going to provide that same level of responsiveness that an internal IT team would have. They think, oh, it's going to take a long time to make really simple changes. I'm going to have to be dependent on this outside party. Well, that might be true in the case of certain cloud-based providers, but it's not really a problem inherent to a hosted contact center or hosted anything. It's just an issue of responsiveness. Your own internal IT team can have just as much of a delay and take you just as long to get to a resolution. In fact, if you think about it, the service provider themselves should have far more intimate knowledge of the system. They're going to be able to know what you need, know how to do it, and wham, bam, it's done. Whereas your internal IT team, they have a ton of other responsibilities. They've got to worry about desktop support. They've got to keep email servers running. Even little things like, fixing the projector in the conference room when it's not working usually falls to IT. They've got a lot going on, and they need to know how all of those systems work down to the projector, right? So when you're deploying something as robust and powerful as the hosted IP contact center or any contact center solution, I mean, that's a pretty sizable chunk of software, right? This is something that takes a long time to learn usually. And so by letting that maintenance fall to the manufacturer by that service provider is really a way to increase your chances of getting to a resolution or adding a feature very quickly. So another sort of reason I hear sometimes about keeping a system in-house instead of moving to the cloud is that people worry about the functionality not being there, not being as rich as some of the premise-based offerings, because the premise-based offerings have been around for so long. Well, again, this isn't really a problem with hosted contact center per se, but is an argument that people use against software as a service in general. But I mean, think about all of the things that are available to you through something like Salesforce, right? I think no one would argue that trying to build out all of that stuff on site is a reasonable way to go anymore. It's just really, really difficult because these companies, these manufacturers that make the hosted software, they have a lot of customers to take care of, and they know what gets needed. Chances are they're going to put in a feature you don't need today, but you might need 4 years from now. Your system is going to get upgraded basically seamlessly, automatically. Back to the Salesforce example, I don't know if any of you use that, but they update that sucker all the time. It's updating, every other week. You get a new feature and a new section. You might not even notice it because it's not something that you've been waiting for, but eventually it may come in handy. So your system is constantly getting built out when you use software as a service, when you use that hosted contact center solution. So you're really future-proofing your business. And speaking of sort of constantly upgrading these things, a lot of premise-based systems just sit and sort of languish in these older versions because it is such a nightmare, such a major undertaking to upgrade from, version 4 to version 4.2. You've got, planning meetings and late nights for IT, scheduled downtime, stuff doesn't go quite right, it doesn't come quite right back up the way it was before. And that's stuff that is now internal pressure for you. That's work that you could be saving by letting the service provider handle all of that stuff. So as far as having the features or not being responsive, I think both of those sort of objections that I hear frequently are just a moot point. They have really nothing to do with hosted contact center and more to do with people not truly grasping the full cost of trying to do that stuff in house. It's really quite an undertaking. So I did also mention that I'd go back and touch on voice over IP and where it sort of fits in. VoIP is really just the ability to carry voice traffic over a data network. There's a lot of confusion over sort of a basic definition of what voice over IP is, but really it is voice traffic over a data network. It's really, really basic. So that data network can be the internet, it can be your managed corporate network, and really the appeal of voice over IP and why it's sort of seeping into all of these different products, including hosted contact center, of course, has been this notion of managing a single network for all the communication needs of a company. So basically, your corporate data network can be configured to carry this mission critical voice traffic, right? All of your calls into your contact center. So unlike all the other business applications for voice over IP, like IPPBX, Contact Center, I think, is basically the killer app for VoIP. This is really where you're going to get the most bang for your buck, the most cost savings, and the best customer service improvements that are just going to equal that ROI that you're looking for. So the improvements that you're going to get out of even just switching to VoIP might even justify replacing a legacy system, a legacy contact center system for call distribution and IVR systems before it's even completely depreciated. And this is really because VoIP's not just another technology. This is really, really fundamentally changing and enabling businesses to be able to give multimedia capability and also solving some of the fundamental problems for the contact center, like everybody's looking to improve their customer service and lowering operating costs, but they're also looking to be able to provide that same level of response for email and web and social contacts as with phone calls. And integrating that voice and data is really how you do that. Location has also become a lot less important. So your agents can be anywhere. And also you can have smaller geographically distributed centers. So if you have, 4 agents in this little office and 10 in this other little office, that can operate as one contact center. I'll talk more about that in just a sec. So if you're a contact center, there's really little doubt that voice over IP is going to save you a lot of money. It really, really will. With an IPPBX, the savings are going to come from lower service charges and lower phone bills and lower cost of moves as it changes. But with a hosted contact center, your savings for all of that stuff really gets multiplied, especially when you have multiple locations or many different agents that are geographically distributed. So the biggie here is that any charges in between your locations just disappear with voice over IP. So it's free to call in between your different centers and so that you can distribute those calls across them like they're one contact center. And so just as an example of how much savings we're talking about, if you have 3 sites with 3 T1s at each of them, that costs about $1,500 a month for each T1. So you've got 9 T1s at $13,500 per month, or $162,000 a year that you could save for a place with 3 sites. Not huge sites, little sites. So let's talk about agent costs. You're going to have basically the biggest cost savings that you're going to find in a contact center is actually where you find their biggest costs in general, and that's in labor. This is really the biggest single budget line item for any contact center is people. And in a networked environment, IP contact centers let you route your contacts, route those customers anywhere on the corporate network, anywhere to external agents. And when you link all of those things together as a single center, to handle the same volume of phone and email and social. Um, that stuff can get handled by fewer customer service agents because you're consolidating all of that into what's essentially a single contact center, even though it's geographically distributed, which is going to allow you to save a ton of money if you are deploying these hosted IP contact centers, right? You're going to be able to hire fewer agents to handle that same volume of calls that you're handling before, calls and general contacts. The other nice thing, of course, is that you're training these agents all on a single system when you've got a unified hosted IP contact center. And you can choose to equip them with soft phones so they can work from a computer without the need for an IP handset or a handset at all. So they can just have a headset and be done with it and have that soft phone running just as software on their computer. That doesn't mean you can't have phones. I know a lot of people are partial to them, but that's a great way to save some money. IP phones start around $100 and go up from there. So that's a significant savings for each agent. And so you're going to be able to route those contacts anywhere. And you're going to be able to hire where it makes sense, hire geographically where it makes sense for your customers as well. And it can really make a huge difference in your labor costs alone. So this was kind of an interesting statistic that I found. I wish I had put the source on there. Now I will have to look it back up again. But up to only about 30% of contact centers have integrated CTI. And I thought this was a really low number. So why so few? And what we were finding was that it was too complex, too time consuming, which really equals, hey, it's too expensive to deploy. Because the typical screen pop app can run you $50K or all the way up to $250K all told. So computer telephony interaction is already built in with a hosted IP contact center. It's there already. Your data systems are talking to your telephony systems, and it's just all integrated. So there's really no cost for a separate CTI middleware for the hardware that there used to be when you would deploy computer telephony interaction. And when that deployment cost goes down, it means that there can be a much wider deployment of CTI. So you can deploy screen pop apps, you can route calls more intelligently based on data, and you can do it all so much more quickly deploying these things. So you're going to save a ton of time per contact if these things get implemented well. And if we go back to that statistic, we're finding nobody's implementing them because it's so darn expensive to do. So there's this savings to be uncovered and no one can get to it. But having this stuff built in for a hosted IP contact center is really a way to unlock that. So phone, email, web, chat, social contacts on a single platform is going to reduce your cost of acquisition because you've got just one platform, not a whole bunch of them, right? And then the system administration is vastly simplified. You've got one system, not 10 systems. And then your reporting and your analytics are all in one place. That's what I really love. You're going to be able to really look up that data and find out where things are going right and where things are going wrong, and it's all integrated. So we talked about how important the customer experience is as well. That it's going to improve customer experience, and that's through these screen pops that you get with integrated CTI. This is through unifying all of those different media channels and really meeting them where they want to interact with you and having that not be a burden on your internal systems. It's something that they can handle. It's something that's all integrated. We talked about soft phones saving a little money, and it's something that is a really easy thing to take a look at. This is just a gimme. Basically, this can happen even with an on-premise system, to be honest. So any IP system is going to be able to let you move to Softphones. And then we talked about how easy administration can be. You're learning one system, not a whole ton of them. You've got a single database. It's using that single mechanism for designing contact workflow instructions for all the different channels. So how do we handle a call? How do we handle an email? How do we handle a tweet? That all goes routed through the same system. And also, since this is hosted and in the cloud, site administration happens from just one point of access from really anywhere. So you're not managing multiple pieces of hardware and software. You just log into one place and change what you need to change. We talked about the intelligent routing of contacts to the right agents based on what media channels they used, or using CTI to determine where that customer should wind up. And really, this is where I talk about, this is a race to the finish line for small contact centers. And the finish line is really that every contact center is moving in this direction. They're going to move to a single network, IP-based, hosted contact center solution. And really, it's important for you to get a migration plan put together that's going to allow you to make that move because your customers are doing it. With the right vendor in place, I think that you can find that your IT team will be on board and that your customers will be able to work more smoothly with your agents, and things can just happen a lot more quickly, which is really a huge time saver. So small organizations can use that cloud-based contact center infrastructure as a way to really free themselves from maintaining specialty equipment, hardware, and software. It's going to allow them to concentrate on service quality. They're going to be able to provide better customer experience than their competition. So small contact centers, when they move to the cloud, are really rewarded with an awesome return on investment and can save big money. So just briefly, where Telcentris fits in. What we do is we have a Voxox In Business division. We provide both voice over IP service, so the phone bill sort of portion of that, providing VoIP, and also a hosted IP contact center called Connect First. It starts at about $90 per seat per month. It goes up to about $125 per seat per month, and then plus your minutes. But that's for this integrated system we've been talking about. And our voice over IP service rates are super low and competitive. So that savings that we talked about with voice over IP can absolutely be realized immediately just through SIP trunking, even if you don't decide to move to a hosted IP contact center quite yet. But the one that we carry has all of the features that I talked about: CRM integration, it works with Salesforce, automatic call distribution, predictive dialing, all of the features that you would expect in a system. So you're going to unify desktops, multimedia queuing, that real-time reporting, all in one place. Being able to have agents anywhere, that's something we can handle as well. And just a lot of tools that are going to enable you to reach higher first call resolution. So I know I've gone over by just a couple minutes, but if you have any questions, you can feel to type into either the chat pane or the questions pane. I'm going to go ahead and end the recording. And thank you all for coming today. I really appreciate it.